I can't even begin to describe to you how bizarre this is. It's so bizarre. I wake up every morning like, is this a bad dream? Mm-hmm. Does this really happen?
Over the years, he's had some killer hits, selling more than 30 million records worldwide. Performed to crazy fans the world over, claiming Grammys as well as other awards with a kiss from a rose.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein is a disgusting individual, a sick person, of course, yes. But tell the whole truth. Don't tell half the truth. You knew it was going on. You all knew, and you chose to say nothing. There's no shame in that. We get it, because that's the way the industry was. But own it. Just own it, and actually do some real good to help people.
It's, again, one of these things which, in society, we get so comfortable with things that we tend to just be like, oh, it's just a thing. It's not okay. And it should never be acceptable.
They carried people away to find out what they know.
So the 8 may still be alive.
9. The head of Star Labs was taken as well.
You made it.
I feel like we're in the beginning of a change, hopefully, in this mentality of people in a power position using their power in order to manipulate people to give them something against their will, and it's not okay.
Here's what I think is very real and still happens. The parents just need to be involved. They have to, if you're a parent and you have your kid, no matter what they're doing, stay involved in their life, but especially in this industry. Right? You don't want to send your kid to LA with a manager without doing your homework.
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
Corey's been one of my buddies for a long time. You know, we're old school, like they like to say. You know, and I told him, you know, I've always had your back, and I know he felt that as a kid. I was one of the guys.
Best movie I put him in, by the way.
I was.
No, I'm joking.
But you know. I was a couple years older, you know, like, you know, they're 12, 13, I'm around 15, you know, so I was aware, you know, I was cautious, and I think it's important for me to come out and just back Corey. So many people are trying to make it seem like that's not a real thing, or it's not as prominent as it really is, and it's not just Hollywood. I guess that's why I'm here. Is just to bring awareness that it's in every walk of life. Yeah, you see it a lot in Hollywood because Hollywood hires the young, beautiful, charismatic people, and so that's definitely going to be a bigger magnet for pedophilia.
You cannot violate a person's personal boundaries.
Terry Crews, the former NFL linebacker turned actor, adding his voice to the tidal wave of people sharing their claims of sexual assault in Hollywood.
And people will say, wow, man, you should just laugh it off. You should just forget it. You know, no, I'm not going to forget it.
Crews is known for his comedic macho roles on the hit TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I just happen to be a great person who's naturally beloved by all.
Or the shirtless, boisterous Old Spice pitchman.
You smell so manly, scientists who want to study your manliness.
But he says his tough guy persona didn't prevent him from becoming the victim of a powerful man.
I was sexually assaulted by Adam Bennett, who was the head of the motion picture department at William Morris Endeavor.
In February of 2016, Crews says he and the Hollywood super agent Adam Bennett were at the same party. Bennett has represented some of Hollywood's biggest names: Liam Hemsworth, Emma Stone, Sylvester Stallone, Eddie Murphy, and Adam Sandler.
You're talking about a very, very powerful man who has access to studio heads. What they do affects every part of the business, from producers, writers, actors. They own finance companies, the whole thing.
And did you know him before the party?
And I did not know him. I heard of him. We had never, ever even had a conversation, okay? So I just heard, and actually, I was actually looking forward to meeting him.
But instead of a professional meet and greet, Crews claims Bennett leered at him from across the room.
and he looked me in my eyes, and he was sticking his tongue out overtly sexually to me. I mean, it was no mistake that this was a sexual type tongue move. And I'm thinking it's a joke. I'm thinking, is this how this guy breaks the ice? I don't understand what this is.
Confused, Cruz said he reached out to shake his hand.
I reached my hand out, and he takes his right hand and under mine and immediately squeezes, grabs my genitals, and I jump back like, hey, whoa. And he jumps back, and he still does this tongue stuff, and he's making weird noises, and then he comes back again and grabs me again. And I slap his hand away, push him back more forcefully, and I'm like, what are you doing?
According to McGowan, she is one of the women who ignited the Me Too movement, calling out the man she says sexually assaulted her. She says she is a victim, but also a survivor. We're going to speak to Rose in just a moment, but first, her story. She was one of the first to sound the alarm in Hollywood.
For Weinstein, it has been a swift and severe fall from grace.
New fallout from the Harvey Weinstein scandal.
In a role she thought she'd never find herself in, Rose McGowan leading the charge against movie mogul Harvey Weinstein.
I have been silenced for 20 years. I have been slut-shamed. I have been harassed. I've been maligned. And you know what? I'm just like you.
McGowan accusing the once powerful producer of sexual assault in 1997, saying her life was hijacked. Determined to find her voice, McGowan took to Twitter last October to publicly call out Weinstein, tweeting, "HW raped me." Her series of tweets helping empower almost 100 other women to come forward about Weinstein's behavior.
Rose right here.
Igniting a movement. #RoseArmy. McGowan also putting all of Hollywood on notice for anyone who may have known about or enabled Weinstein's behavior. Overnight, Weinstein's rep releasing a statement reading, Mr. Weinstein denies Rose McGowan's allegations of non-consensual sexual contact, and it is erroneous and irresponsible to conflate claims of inappropriate behavior and consensual sexual conduct later regretted with an untrue claim of rape.
Not answering any questions, all right? Just leave us alone.
A star on the rise, McGowan playing strong female characters in Scream.
Even if help's coming, it's not going to be till daybreak.
And Phantoms with Ben Affleck, both films produced by Weinstein. These films and others forced her to promote movies with the man she despised most. In her new book, Brave, she vividly describes the experience of having to work with him. Quote, "I had to do press events with the monster and see photos of us together, his big fat paw pulling me into his body." Smiling and laughing on the outside, tortured, she says, by Weinstein, who she calls the monster, on the inside. Quote, "I do not like the monster's name. I refuse to have his name in my book."
You've always been good to me. But you know, whenever I respect you. And we respect you too, you have a job to do.
Harvey, how's your wife taking everything with this?
I'm not answering any questions.
No comments, guys.
I know you have a job to do, guys.
No problem.
How you feeling? How you doing, though, Harvey? How you doing?
You ready to go back to work some more?
I gotta go to work.
All right, Harvey.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you, Harvey.
I'm not rich like you guys.
Nah. All right, thank you, Harvey.
I respect you.
You know, Harvey would talk to me about women that he'd had affairs with. I didn't necessarily believe them, quite honestly, because to believe them would be to believe kind of the worst of some actresses who were friends of mine. I knew he was an you know, I mean, he was proud of that.
George Clooney and Matt Damon now coming to terms with the disturbing allegations of abuse by their former mentor, Harvey Weinstein.
You had to spend about 5 minutes with him to know that he was a bully, he was intimidating.
In the 90s, it was Harvey Weinstein and his company Miramax that helped launch both men into superstardom.
I said do what I do, I said do what I say.
For George, it would be the 1996 film From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, but at least I won't be unoriginal.
And for Matt, Good Will Hunting would mark the start of multiple collaborations with the now disgraced producer.
He bought Good Will Hunting and we shot it in '97. And I did 5 movies in quick succession. He signed me up for a 3-picture deal. And I didn't work with him again after that.
But I was there kind of that was the height of his power. And that was his legend. That was his whole kind of MO. Like you know, could you survive a meeting with Harvey? Could you stand up for yourself? And the people who worked for him were like, you know, I'm coming here to make good movies. Miramax was the place, really the place that was making great stuff in the 90s. This level of criminal sexual predation is not something that I ever thought was going on. Absolutely not. I knew the story about Gwyneth from Ben because he was with her after Brad, but I was working with Gwyneth, with Harvey, you know, on Ripley.
Tom Ripley. Tom Ripley? We were at Princeton together.
I never talked to Gwyneth about it. Ben told me, but I knew that they had come to whatever agreement or understanding that they had come to. She had handled it, and she was, you know, the first lady of Miramax, and he treated her incredibly respectfully, always.
The idea that this predator, this assaulter, was out there silencing women, it's beyond infuriating. And the fact that the story is coming out now, and the more it comes out, I want to know all of it.
Actor and musician Corey Feldman. Corey is vowing to expose a ring of Hollywood pedophiles through a film he would like to fund to the tune of $10 million. Corey, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Megan, for having me.
I don't think anybody today is doubting that you were, in fact, a victim of pedophilia. The questioning has been about why wouldn't you just come out and name names if you believe there are active pedophiles hurting little boys right now.
Absolutely.
In Hollywood.
And believe me, I would love the pain to stop today. This is about creating a cycle of awareness. This is about opening people's eyes and minds to the fact that this is a real problem, that it really exists. Unfortunately, I have tried time and time again through the years to get this story out, to get the points across, to get the names out.
We've seen you try. We have spoken about this
Absolutely.
for years.
Over and over.
But what about the names? Have you ever named names?
I have. I told in 1993, I told the Santa Barbara Police Department when they came to interrogate me about Michael Jackson, trying to convince me literally that my friend was a pedophile. And I told them, no, he's not. I said, in fact, if you want to know what a pedophile is like, I can tell you very specifically because I've been molested. And they said, oh, really? By who? I said, well, I can give you the names. Here they are. And they said, okay, well, you know, unfortunately, that's not our area. That's outside of our community, our jurisdiction.
Did you ever follow up in the right jurisdiction in Los Angeles?
Because let me tell you something. When you're a kid, when you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, you try telling the police, which is a very big thing to do. And especially when it wasn't even my situation. I was just answering for a friend. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I found the courage to even throw it in there and hopefully get some support, and then they were like, sorry, they just shut it down like it didn't matter. And this was when it was still within the statute of limitation.
That's right.
It was within my 10 years, because in California, we're only allowed 10 years to report these crimes. And if you're a kid, and this happens to you at 12, 13, 14 years old, that means you have until you're 22, 23. Well, how many people by 22, 23 are self-aware enough to know that they can come forward and they won't be scolded, they won't be shamed?
There's such a great power imbalance. There are these few people that wield all this power. I think it's great that it's all coming out in the open. A woman should never have to feel that in order to get from A to B, she has to compromise her integrity. But what I cannot bear is this sanctimonious BS of all of these people that are now all of these Hollywood people that are now saying, you know what, we never knew. What you had going on, albeit wrong. It is absolutely wrong, and it is disgraceful. But what was going on was a transaction. And so I'd have a lot more respect for those people if those people came out and they said, you know what, here's what happened, right? I was an aspiring actor or actress. I was trying to get from A to B. I knew the nature of this business. This person, this disgusting person, had all the power. And I knew that I stood no chance of getting that part or moving to the next level unless I compromised by sleeping with that person. And I am coming forward and saying this now because for all of those young aspiring actors and actresses, I want to clean this up now so that they don't have to go through that. I'd be a lot more impressed by that because then you're doing some real good. Yeah, Harvey Weinstein is a disgusting individual, a sick person, of course, yes. But tell the whole truth. Don't tell half the truth. You knew it was going on. You all knew, and you chose to say nothing. There's no shame in that. We get it, because that's the way the industry was. But own it.
Pick the ones that they wanted.
At one point, he said, you know what, why don't you just take off your clothes? Take off your clothes and let me see what you look like.
You've seen their faces. One alleged victim had roles in What's Eating Gilbert Grape and The Apostle. Another is an aspiring musician who was violated when he was just 11 years old. Meet Evan Henze. He is just one of 5 telling their stories in the documentary An Open Secret. The 21-year-old says he was abused for 5 years by his manager, Marty Weiss, who was convicted for his sex crimes on Evan in 2012.
Do you remember that first time?
Yeah, I do.
What happened?
We went to the park and we played basketball. So it was that night he touched me. At 11, I didn't know it was improper. It just didn't make any sense to me.
But Evan may not be the only one. The manager also allegedly abused the late Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Feldman told us it didn't end there.
When I look back at a picture of when I was 15 years old and I was surrounded by 5 men, and every one of those men in that photograph is a pedophile, that's a pretty big problem. I was molested, and I said yes. I allowed it to happen, but I was a child.
I was told that this is everyday business, and he made me feel like I have to do that in order to get any job. He was just saying this was common in the industry.
Thank you for your question, Senator. Anywhere where there is a power dynamic is where this problem is really rampant. I've seen it in sports. I've seen it in politics. I've seen it with a racial component. I've seen it with economic components. And Hollywood definitely has been a problem area simply because there are so many people who view this as a dream. And what happens is someone has power over these dreams. And what happens is that you get tricked into thinking that this type of behavior is expected, that it's part of the job, that this harassment, abuse, even rape is part of your job description. And, you know, I sit here before you in this committee just as an example, because a lot of people don't believe that a person like me could actually be victimized. And what happened to me has happened to many, many other men in Hollywood. And since I came forward with my story, I have had thousands and thousands of men come to me and say, me too. This is my story. But I did not have the confidence, or I did not feel safe enough to come out, because what happens is, you know, you get blacklisted. Your career is in danger. After that, no one wants to work with you. And it is really, really important, I feel, to keep this conversation going. And another thing is, I heard time and time again about the rights that my predator had, but I was never told about the rights that I had as a survivor. And that was the wake-up call that I knew I had to be a part of what's happening here today in regards to the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights, because now if you know what you can do, you can actually do something about it.